Alrighty.
All right, we're back.
Episode 1 was fun. I felt like we got off to a pretty slow start, so I want to get the ball rolling a little bit faster. Do you have anything on the agenda that you want to go over?
I just want to talk about
Maybe how we're a little too close to each other?
how we got to be closer this time.
Yeah, no, we're going to have to fix that real quick.
But it might make for some better answers because we're not as distant.
How is distance going to classify?
I don't know. You see all these podcasts where these people have like really deep existential answers. They're always pretty close to each other. So I think that might be what happens right now. Anyway, what's on the agenda?
Sounds like a space rock boy.
I don't necessarily know what's on the agenda. I would say let's just talk about maybe the plans that we have for content this week. Let's talk about just what's on our mind.
You want to kick it off?
Yeah, sure.
Or do you got nothing?
I don't we can talk about what we're doing with Obey Creative this week. This week we haven't done a shoot with Obey Creative yet. So why do I feel like you're just staring me?
Because I am staring at you. Because I am staring. I don't know. Like, well, one of two options: here or here. I picked there.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So this week we haven't done a shoot yet with Obey Creative. So what we decided to do is to just repurpose a lot of the content that they already have. They've already posted a bunch of stuff on their Instagram, on their TikTok, on their YouTube. So it gives us at least enough of a starting point to work with. And then after we have the shoot on Thursday, we're going to get some behind the scenes content. After that point, we'll have a bunch more stuff that like we've actually shot and that we'll know how to edit ourselves. But for this week, we're repurposing some content, and I think it's you just gotta, like, whenever you don't feel like you have enough content to work with, there's always a way to either like repurpose or like do some B-roll from stock footage websites and do voiceovers. There's always some way to get more content, but yeah. So that's what we're doing this week.
You have to find a way, and it's not always going to be simple. And perhaps you go down for a shoot day, and maybe there isn't as much allocated time as you would have liked, and so you need to always be ready to shift. And so, like he said, we're gonna repurpose some content for this week. We're gonna make it all fit a certain what would you call it? A certain maybe agenda is not the word, but a certain category.
Criteria.
Criteria. Yeah, I like that better. Yeah,
that's a good
we're
word.
gonna make it fit. We're gonna make it work, and we'll make the best of our shoot days. So we're looking forward to those. But at the end of the day, you got to make what you have work, and so we're gonna do that, and then we're just gonna knock the roof off the place once we get to those shoots, huh?
That sounds like a plan.
Oh yeah.
We're going down to, where is it? Westwood.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like an hour and a half away. We'll get all our gear together. We're doing behind the scenes, so
right.
How
much of that can we talk about though?
Probably not like all that much, but yeah, like if we're doing behind the scenes, we don't necessarily need to bring like all of our lighting gear. Like I probably won't be bringing this. I'll just bring a couple of our cameras, the FX3 and 30. And we'll just try to capture moments. I think I just hit the mic right there.
That's because it's like 2 inches in front of your face.
That probably has something. That probably has something to do with it. Right. But yeah, how would you say we're going to catch those moments that are gonna do well on social when we go to the shoot on Thursday? Because we're gonna be shooting them. Like we can say this. Like we're shooting them as they're shooting a course. So we're gonna like be putting together launch materials for them, and
that's gonna be he's gonna do such a great job with that.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. I mean the wisdom that guy just he knows so much. I mean I'm sure the course is gonna be awesome. And to answer your question, there will always be a camera on, and so under that, we will capture everything. So
right,
we'll be able to pull out the good stuff.
Yeah, we'll capture everything, and I think we've gotten to be pretty good at asking the right questions too. So if at any point we're like, oh, we really want to know what he thinks about this particular part of marketing, and he'll probably give us an answer to that. And Also, I think like you got to know what the particular client wants to talk about. So, I mean, a lot of what he posts about on social media is about entrepreneurship. It's about being more business savvy. So, I think that's going to come in handy, and maybe we'll prepare some questions about that specifically, like how business owners can succeed in a time like, are we in winter right now? Winter of 2023?
It's October.
October. That's
It has snowed in October before.
yeah.
But
I mean, isn't October 21st technically the beginning of winter?
I think we're in the fall. I think I'm pretty confident.
Oh
that
no,
we're in
no, the
fall.
beginning of winter is way past now. Yeah,
I'm pretty comfortable saying
no,
we're in the
it's
fall.
no. We just started the fall. The winter is December 21st.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that that's out of the way, what I had it on the tip of my tongue. Now I lost it. I was gonna say, what do you want the content to evolve into going forward? What do you want emphasis on?
For Obey Creative specifically?
Yeah,
Or-
well, I mean, they're for those that don't know, most of their clients, I'm almost certain, are in the adult beverage industry.
right.
From their podcasts, I've seen Justin. He's always with somebody who's in the adult beverage, whether it's a brewery or one in particular had a spiked lemonade, and I've been meaning to get it. I want to try it. Because now if I go and pick up wine for my mother, or for whatever other reason I'm there, I'm kind of looking, well, what's there that I've seen in their podcast before.
Right. Well, for beverage companies, what we're probably going to do is from a studio standpoint, we're going to want to get some really nice shots of the beverage looking really, really tasty. So maybe it's, you can just see the condensation on the outside of the bottle. I think one of the things we'll probably do is spray glycerin on the outside of the bottle. That can make
That's
it
a
look
good
like
idea.
it is really wet. And,
That's a really good
and really
idea.
tasty. And then
Yeah.
we'll probably, want to get some really tight up close shots, as well as just like people enjoying the beverage. We'll either get you or I to like have us drinking it, or maybe we'll get
I'll do it.
you'll do it, or maybe we'll get some family members to do that, or
I'm sure that'll be real hard to find.
yeah. So
Have
I
you?
don't- yeah,
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No. I didn't have too much more.
Oh, good. I just saved you.
Yeah.
Have you have you seen this new AI? Granted, all AI is just crazy, but I've been seeing ads for this one in particular, where people that are showcasing products where they want a nice background shot. You can, and this has existed before with green screen, but just the immersion of it now is just something on a totally different level. And I saw this guy, he did it with a Gatorade bottle. Did you see that?
I don't
He
think
took
so.
a Gatorade bottle and he just put it down, and he was like in a studio like this, and he took a picture and he plugs it into this AI, and he did it when it was like he had to go and put it in a field, and it looked, you never would have known that it was taken in a studio. You could, like, it's like the grass was bending to it, you know what I mean? It just, it looked so good. Then he did it on a beach, he did it on a picnic table, and just like anything you would want, any sort of background setting. And it's just, I mean, in our industry especially, the power that AI has, it's out of control. It's seriously, I mean, it helps. It's cool.
It is. I think you're talking about generative fill on Photoshop.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
yeah.
I just saw the ads.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of accounts using that to make it look like a movie is vertical.
Ooh.
So it's like, oh, what if The Dark Knight was vertical, and then it can expand the environment. So you kind of have to have a still shot. So if you have a still shot and you can expand the environment to have Photoshop predict what would happen, 10 feet above you or 10 feet below you. And so I think that, works super well for just photos too, just to, like maybe instead of going all the way to I don't know where would be a really cool spot to show a particular beverage in, but
Hampton
if
Beach, perhaps.
yeah, well, that's right around the corner. But if you wanted to show it on the beach, you could just take a picture and then outline the outside of the bottle, and you can make it look like it's outside the beach in a way that it would take a lot more time and effort and energy to go over and do that. But I think the one thing I want to say though is that I think there's a legitimate fierce need, I think, for people to use AI as much as possible, I think, on social media. And I really appreciate that too. And in some of the festivals that I've been to, they've been talking about, oh, it's going to be so cool to be able to use all these tools for our movies. And I don't know if you guys have heard of the Volume stage, or if you've heard of that, but it's basically a stage that they're using on shows like The Mandalorian. I know uses that, and it can basically make it look like you're in any location that you want to be. And that's great. That's definitely cool. But I think there is still so much power in actually going to locations too. Totally. Like whenever I want to make my movies, like my whole thing is that I always want to have the adventure of going to those places. And I honestly often write things that I know are going to take me to those places. And I think that it's just great for morale for everybody to know that we're going to have this fun adventure. But also I think it lends itself to a little bit of an unpredictability that you want, because I think it's when things look too measured, when things look too put together, you want to have that stamp of quality, that 98% stamp of quality. But what makes things approachable and, like we were talking about, organic last time, I think, is that little bit of unpredictability. But yeah, I think it's but AI is a lot of fun to play with, because I think when you combine that with what you're doing in reality, it can make something that's really attention grabbing and works well for social media.
Totally. And I mean, now you can have whole conversations with AIs. It's kind of insane. People write contracts with them. People shoot B-roll with them. People apparently put Gatorade bottles in scenic settings in them.
Yeah.
And it's only going to grow. And I don't know if this would be classified as AI, but did you see, I think it's called the Sphere in Vegas? Isn't that insane?
That is incredible.
What they're doing with that. U2 was there.
Yeah.
And they had, I guess they were utilizing some crazy effects, and too bad I wasn't there.
I know.
I mean, I'll tell you about it though.
Yeah, that looks super, super cool. I wonder if that's going to change the theatrical experience. I wonder if more and more theaters are going to want to make things like that. And I think it was Denis Villeneuve. He directed Dune. Have you heard about Dune?
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure it was him who said that he thinks that that's going to be the next evolution of how movie theaters are going to be, because he thinks that people want to go to specific locations if they're going to have much more thrilling experience than what we have online. Back in the day, movie theaters were so different from being at home, because you'd never have that sort of experience. Right. But now that more high quality content is becoming more available on streaming services, and TVs and home theaters are getting so much better, it seems like people are going to eventually want to gravitate towards something that it is an experience like they could never have at home. And I think that's probably something that will happen.
While you were saying that, I was thinking to myself, it's what was big? You look at the arc of acting in general, storytelling in general. Obviously, the very original is just pen and paper. I mean, even making marks on caves, telling stories. But as it evolved, it got into theater, like we're talking about. They still do, obviously, and it's huge on Broadway. What if that type of storytelling became more prominent because of something like the Sphere, where it's the effects that can be generated are just mind-blowing, and that sort of storytelling could I wouldn't say overtake movies, but become far more relevant. Because right now, it's, would you call it? I don't know. It's not something like, not everybody's been to a show. Pretty much everybody's seen a movie, but not everybody's been to a show. And if something like that becomes more mainstream, and as years go by, more of those pop up, maybe in some major cities, and I just wonder what that could look like for storytelling going forward.
That's a really interesting comment, because I think that the reason that movies have gotten so popular is that they tell stories in a way that's really that nothing else can, and that's really unique. And like you can do so through music, you can do so through dialogue, you can do so through the way that somebody has a facial expression. All of those things are really, really important. And I think that the Sphere, I don't think like movies are ever, maybe not ever, but I really don't think they're going to go away anytime soon, because I think that like only something like the Sphere is going to enhance what movies are. And I think that like what helps movies so much is focus on, and I think this is probably going to be the one weakness of something like the Sphere, is that a Sphere doesn't necessarily focus on one particular thing. I don't know, because I've never been to it, but like it kind of shows you these broad landscapes as far as I can see, but it doesn't like focus on like somebody's eyes and what they're like genuinely thinking about one specific thing. And that's like one of those things that like continues to build on top of the previous moment in something like a movie. So I don't know. What do you think about it?
Well, if you think about something like, say, a battle scene in a movie, like, can you imagine like they can surround you and you're now like immersed. So it's like, I think what a lot of people like in movies, and it's only evolved, is immersion, right? And you see it, when we were kids, everybody wanted to go, 3D, let's go to 3D and see whatever movie it was, Spider-Man in 3D, Spider-Man 3. I remember that day. That was a fun time. And then you had the IMAX, and it's like, there's little speakers in the chair, and you feel the vibrations, and now with something like the Sphere, it's all around you, versus you're just looking at a screen in front of you. Now you look around, and it's like, whoa, I'm in the Coliseum, and there's gladiators running around me, or something crazy. But people want to be immersed, and I think whatever can do that the best is what people are going to gravitate to. And you know what? Just to not to jump off topic, I'd say kind of just branch off of one other thing I saw on LinkedIn today, that Netflix is trying to create some sort of park, like what I saw is like they want their own Disney World type of experience where people can go in, and they capture like what Disney does so well is they capture nostalgia, and I don't think anybody will ever be able to do it like them. But I think Netflix is thinking like, if we can become a physical destination, maybe we can hold the line over our competition. Really, their only competition is like Hulu and I would say Prime Video, right? And so I think they're looking for that niche, something specific that can be tied to them that nobody else is doing. And it's like, I scroll through the comments. I actually commented on it as Radiant Media. I scrolled through the comments, and a lot of people were like, wow, that's interesting. I don't really know how to feel about it. I don't know how they're going to make it work, but they must have something figured out. So I guess we'll see. I can't imagine it's like theme park-esque.
Honestly, it makes so much sense, because I mean, I think it was us that was talking about Harry Potter not too long ago, like a month ago.
Yeah,
and
Universal.
Look at what Universal has done with Harry Potter.
They're going to do it again with Mario now.
Really?
The new park is going to be very Mario themed. That's like
interesting.
They try to keep it under wraps. Like when I was there last year, I was going on the Hagrid ride, and it unfortunately was closed. But the lady there that was telling us it was closed, we started to get into a conversation with, and all that came up, and I was like, "What can you tell me?" She's like, I think they got to sign NDAs. I don't think they can really yeah,
really?
right." But she's like, "But what I can tell you
They
that
might have snipers on you right now.
they might." But what she could tell me that's already kind of been leaked out, I guess, is that a big part of it's going to be Super Mario, and also they are going to build more on the Harry Potter. That much I do know. The things I said to my girlfriend, I was like, "What if they do like the sorting ceremony? Like you walk into like a real life Hogwarts basically, and they put the sorting hat on your head."
That would be
That
so
would
cool.
be so cool. So cool.
Yeah, well, I think this is all to say that like it's not surprising to me at all. At first, when you said it, it was surprising because it's like, oh, like why would Netflix do that? But I mean, look what Disney has done, and I think why it works so well for Disney versus like another theme park is because you have had that experience with all those Disney characters, with Mickey, with Goofy, whoever you want to call it, and then with Universal, you've had that experience with the Harry Potter characters, and then like going back to Disney too, like you've had those experiences with the Marvel characters and with the Star Wars characters, and so what Disney has done and what Universal has done is that they've used these movies, these experiences that you've had with these characters as almost advertisements for their theme parks. Because sure, they make a lot of money with the box office returns, but they make far more money
100%.
with the theme parks and people constantly wanting to be involved in that sort of experience.
Right.
And so I think it's like, you know, that's kind of how it works with the stories that you tell. It's you create a relationship between the audience and the characters that are on screen, and then after that, that's when you can, you know, if you want to look at it from a business standpoint, you capitalize on what the relationship that you have between the audience and in that story.
Yeah, and it really does go back to immersion, right? It's like people want to feel immersed in a product. They really do, and Disney, I don't think anybody does it quite like they do. You can go to that physical place, and you know there's nobody alive that doesn't know about it. You go there, and they've got something for each movie just about, and you can go and you can physically experience what you watched as a kid, and I touched on it a little bit. I actually wrote my senior project about this. I wrote about Disney World, and it was my marketing final, and it was like, what did they capture? Like, what's unique about them? There's a lot unique about them, but the one that like I touched on that's so powerful is nostalgia, and what they can do, and how they take the feeling of nostalgia, and it doesn't matter how old you are. You go there and you have memories from when you were young or when your kids were young, or there's some positive memory that comes with it. And people want to be encapsulated in positivity. Who doesn't? And they've tried and done well for so many years to generate a positive environment for everyone. And so people go and they use that effective nostalgia. And like, for example, one thing that I really like there is the Buzz Lightyear ride, you know, that one. And it's like, I liked watching Toy Story when I was young, and Buzz Lightyear's a big part of Toy Story. And so it's like, that was something that I liked. But then there's things for people that are maybe a little older, like they have the Snow White ride there now, and they've got all sorts of things that it's like at this point, because they've been around for like 100 years, that no matter where you're at in life, you can look back and go, just find that positive memory. You know, you're like, oh, I remember that when I was a kid, you know. So.
Exactly. And I think the thing about those theme parks and about storytelling in general is that you always want to go back to it. You always want to go back to that experience that you had when you first watched that movie or first stepped into Disney. And it's like, it's cliche to say, but like it always feels like you were just there. Like,
Yeah.
like even I remember like I went when I was 4 years old to Disney, and then I went back when I was 12. And it's funny because like when you're a kid and when you have that experience, you don't like really understand what's going on. But then when you're older, like, oh, like I remember this place, but I don't
Yeah.
really know how I remember it or when it was from. So I don't know. I just think that's really cool.
Yeah, no, I think they do that by connecting their products in all different planes. They connect it through the screen, they connect it physically there, they connect it through toys, they connect it through clothing, they connect it through all kinds of merchandise. And then you show up there and it's like you feel like you're at the hub of it all, right? And so I think what they did there is obviously nothing short of incredible.
And I
really.
think what I'm realizing right now is that those interactive experiences are not unlike church, because what happens with church and what happens with Disney is that you have established a myth, right? And then after you establish that myth, then you have people gather around to celebrate it. And that's what, and even like you provide your tithe
Yeah.
in a way too when you go there, when you pay for food and when you support that thing that is continually constructing that myth that people are interested in. And I think it's worth defining what myth is too, because there's like, oh, like there's Mythbusters and there's all sorts of stuff, but like myth at its truest sense is a way to define truth through storytelling. So, like when you're watching a Disney movie, when you're watching any sort of movie, there's some sort of truth that you can glean from that. And I think it's either through somebody's subjective experience, or it can be through something that, like a wise word that's said throughout the story. There's something that the person has to overcome, and as a result of that overcoming, you see the division of good and bad, and once you overcome that bad, then you are able to free other people who are dealing with that same sort of thing, because now they have a template about how to overcome that particular thing. And yeah, I think it's like it sounds weird to say, but I think there's a lot of similarities between that and something like an experience of a theme park.
I must say, I was really interested to see how you would tie that together. When you first said that, I was like, "What?" But you did a really good job. No, that was very insightful. I think you won me over. I think you're right. There is a lot to say to that in terms of myths and what really is a myth and how myths are built through storytelling. I think that's all a great point. And you kind of tripped me up, because I was like, that whole time I'm like,
you're like,
how is he going to tie this together?
But yeah, I think that's why, like, I've kind of evolved into like, what am I actually doing? Like, I really do love to make movies, but like, why do I love to make them, and like, what ultimately am I going after? And I think it's one, to tell great stories, but also I think it's like, how do I immerse people as much as possible, and how do we give them, like we were talking about with the Sphere,
Mm-hmm.
and how do we give them the best experience they can possibly have, so that they can have a better life after they experience it. Maybe they feel closer to somebody because they understand where they're coming from more, or maybe they learn more about a particular culture, like in Disney World too, how you're able to, like at Epcot, go around to all these different countries. And I think it's like, yeah, and I think it's why eventually I'm like, oh, like it would be kind of cool to make a video game in the future, something that like really reels people in that way too.
Yeah.
So
Just another form of storytelling, another way that you're immersed in it, right? And I think that's something I actually didn't think of until you just brought it up. Epcot, just more of what Disney's done is that they've evolved from where they initially were with Magic Kingdom, and then they branched out to things like Epcot, and you can go there, right? And you can have fun at Magic Kingdom. You can go to Animal Kingdom, and like there's everything's there. You can, technically, not really. You can go to like Japan or Mexico, and there's people that are actually from that country there that can educate you on what their country's like. And I'm just imagining, I'm assuming that when they built that park, they had a lot of input from people that are actually from there that made that little setting, and it's cool that you can go there and technically go around the world, So yeah.
Right, in a very small space,
Very
compared
small
to the
space.
entire world.
Small space. You get up. You do it in about a day. It's a lot of walking, but I guess it beats a 12-hour flight, right? So
I'm very cold right now. I need to get heat in this place.
he was walking around. He was
I feel
walking
like
around
I'm
with
shaking.
a blanket. You should have seen. He walked by here. He looked like the angel of death with his black blanket on.
I see my jean jacket. I'm gonna get my jean jacket on real quick. You entertain him for a couple of seconds.
He's going to abandon me because he's cold. You're wearing a long sleeve shirt, and you leave it on the floor. It was a chair right there. You just hang it on the chair. You could have just had it on the back of the chair, but you threw it under the chair, like it's middle school, and we're putting our books under our chair. Hey, did you ever actually on that? Did you ever lose a book when you put it under your chair? Did you
Why?
ever just one day come to your chair and perhaps maybe your English book per se, maybe it wasn't there when you got back?
I don't think an experience like you had happened to me. Why do you want to tell the story?
I think I do.
All right, and we're gonna figure out a way to tie this back into media too at some point. So
Yeah, no, it's a story. It's
Yeah.
a story. I'm telling. We go off topic a little bit here. This is an interesting story.
Yeah.
Maybe for me it is. Most kids, I think, I hope, I don't know, maybe relate with me, have an area under your desk, under your chair actually, where you stack your books. So I'm in the 8th grade, and I had my books under there. Your English, your history, your math book, and whatnot, and so, it was like the first couple of days of school. You get it all there, and you go to your classes, and you come back. And did we leave the books there when we went home? I think we only took what we needed home. Some people
Probably.
did. Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so one day, I come to school and I'm going through, and my English book wasn't there, and I'm just like, what? It's got to be home. I must have left it somewhere. Blah blah blah. Maybe someone has it. And so for the next 30 days, I was looking for it at my house, ripping my house apart, asking everybody in my class, like checking their book to see if it has my name on it and all that. And getting in trouble with my English teacher. She'd go, "Do you have your book, Anthony?" And I'd go, "No." No. And she didn't like that too much. And so my last resort was, I'm going to go back in class, and I'm going to tear this classroom apart after school. And so that's what I did. I went back to my home room, and I go in there, and my teacher was there, whose name I will not say. And he's like, "Oh, what are you doing, Anthony?" And I'm like, "Well, I for the life of me, I can't find my English book. I've been looking all month. I don't know where it is." And he's like, "Oh," pulls it out of his drawer. "You mean this one?" "Yes, that would be the one. That would be the one." And then he made me give him a quarter to get my book back, and I went on with my life. That's my story. You're the one that threw us off. You went over there to get your stupid jean jacket because you wanted to look like a greaser from the 50s. I mean, just slick your hair back while you're at it. Shave, get a single blade razor, go down. You don't deserve that beard now.
Well, yeah, and that's the same teacher. We'll tell you this story too. and we'll still not say the teacher's name.
Yeah, I don't want to put him in a bad light.
No.
You know?
But I think it's funny because it's relevant to us.
Yeah.
And
oh, I know what you're gonna say.
So we were at gym class
Yeah.
one time. I think we were playing kickball, was it? And
I don't remember.
so we were over on the sideline, and this teacher knew that Anthony and I were a rambunctious duo, and
One
so
might say.
he said to us, because he wanted to make sure that everybody was playing the game the right way and that we weren't getting off focus, he's like, you two cannot race. And
That was such a specific thing.
We
like it was such a specific thing.
Yeah.
And like he didn't say we couldn't talk. Didn't say we couldn't play tic tac toe.
Yeah, like you can't sprint and race. and for some reason we took that as a challenge. An intellectual challenge that we were going to figure out some way that what we were doing wasn't racing. But what we did is right after he said that, right after he turned away, we ran
seconds.
We ran as fast as we could away from each other. And we raced. We definitely raced.
the
But
same direction.
in our heads, we're like, no, we're just running really fast side by side. and so he came back and he looks at us. He stares at us for a couple of seconds. And he's like, why did you do that? I told you specifically not to do that. And we're like, oh, no, we were just running. And then he goes, you two have the attention span of a flea. So that was
we did.
That was
I don't
that was
blame
a,
him.
that was a that was a fun moment.
That
but,
was that
but
was
anyway,
that was middle school or
um,
something. I'd just like to say, you know who you are. I hope you're doing well. All love.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and,
we
we
appreciate
have
you.
we have a good laugh over these stories.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you
we-
taught us a lot of
we-
positive stuff, and we appreciate you.
we
So
really do.
we're not ragging on you if you happen to see this.
But anyway, you're gonna figure out a way to connect this back to media.
oh, I am.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Well, I think we were telling a story, were we not, Jesse?
we were.
One might even say maybe we could make a
And-
short film of it one day.
Exactly, and you guys were engaged. This is probably gonna get a high viral score on Opus. too.
Yeah, seriously, right? I know.
It's gonna be like
It has a great hook.
It's gonna be like, oh wow, these two told a great story about their childhood. Fantastic.
Two flea boys see how fast they can run next to each other.
Yeah, we'll get the B-roll.
Totally not a
It'll be
race.
like this monstrous flea that's running the race to victory.
You know what the funny thing is? I don't really remember thinking about it, like trying to find a way around it. I just did it. And I was like, okay, so I'm gonna do this anyway. It's like I think you're the one that was like trying to think of a way. I was just like, I'm just gonna do it. Like I was like,
yeah.
you were running, and I'm
You're
like,
you're
you ran, and I was like, well, I can't let him run by himself.
Oh, so was that it then?
What do you mean? Was
Wait,
that
so
it?
are you the true culprit? Because
What do you mean the culprit?
because
I just was like,
because if you didn't follow me, we wouldn't be racing. I'd just be running.
but why did you run? Like what? so you would have just ran away by yourself. You would have just been like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So he didn't say anything about me running away though.
Because at that point it wouldn't be a race. But you made it a race. 'cause
See,
you
aren't
followed
we
me.
creative? Aren't we
Exactly.
creative? That's why we do this, right?
Exactly.
We tell
Exactly.
stories, and apparently we change narratives as well. No, but
So
that was everybody's got a little positive, funny story from
Right.
school, and we could do 10 podcasts on this. But
yeah.
you warmer?
I am warmer.
Good.
I am
Good.
warmer.
Good.
I'm
Glad.
a lot warmer.
I was worried about you.
and I mean I might have to do some jumping jacks at some point.
Good.
But yeah,
No, you
overall,
keep the blood moving. You know.
overall we're doing pretty good. Yeah, let's see. Let's give ourselves a challenge.
Okay.
Let's try to think of the most random
I
topic
think we just did that.
you can, like even more random than that.
Why
And
would we
and
do
we'll,
that?
And
What-
because we'll figure out a way to connect it back to media and what we do.
Okay.
I think everything's related.
Okay. I
so-
can't use a hula hoop. I've never been able to do it. Okay. Now tie it back.
Okay. So, hula hoop. You've never been able to do it.
Couldn't do it. Can't do it.
How did you feel before trying the hula hoop?
How did I feel before trying the hula hoop?
like why did you want to learn how to hula hoop?
Well, we were in gym class. It might have been like the second grade. I don't know. And we were in that gym. That was a weird gym, by the way. Didn't look like many other gyms, but it was a gym. And there was hula hoops. And I saw that hula hoop and I was like, I can do that. And then I went over and I tried it and I was unsuccessful.
Why did you want to learn how to do it? Did you want to impress anybody?
Uh, that would be quite the way to impress somebody. Look at this hip rotation that I have here. I think I just saw it, and as like an 8-year-old kid, I just was like, I'm gonna go do this. And then ever since, every time you see a hula hoop, I'm like, can't do it. Can't do it. I try. It's just I can't. I don't move right. I don't know how to. I can't dance. I'm just not. I don't move like that. I don't know. I don't move like that. Do you move like that, Jesse?
Sometimes.
Sometimes he moves.
I can
like
probably
that.
do 2 hoops. Not too many though. Probably a couple. But see, what I would do is I would make a story, a 3-act story. The first act
The boy
is
who couldn't.
the boy who sees the hula hoop.
Okay.
And he says, "Oh wow, there's a hula hoop. I've seen other people do hula hoops before. I want to make sure that I can do a hula hoop because I want to know that I can do something that somebody else can do."
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he's a little scared of it at first. It's like, "Oh, I don't know if I really want to try that because what if I try it and I don't succeed?"
Sure.
But then as you go over to it and as you try the hula hoop, it's like, okay, you're crossing that threshold into
Yeah.
like, I'm doing this.
Chapter 2.
It's chapter 2.
It's chapter
I am
2.
trying to weave this hula hoop around me. And, maybe you'll fail a couple of times and you'll see some people that are laughing at you or that are like, haha, he can't do that. But after a couple of times, you're like, oh man, like I'm really sucking. I can't move a hula hoop around me. But then you're going to come to a realization after that hey, like people are still having fun around me. I'm still friends with that guy, even if I can't hula hoop. Moving on to the third act, even if I can't, even if I can't hula hoop, I can still have good relationships with people, and how skilled I am at hula hooping doesn't define who I am. And I think that's part of self-realization and transforming from one way of being to another. So I think
it's a character building moment.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And okay, so I can imagine the thumbnail, right? It's a kid and it just says hoop.
Right. And it's made by Pixar.
It's made by Pixar. Oh yeah, those Pixar. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
The AIs when they do that.
We're not going to talk about some of the dirty ones. But
Well, I wasn't talking about the dirty ones. What? Who brought up the dirty ones?
I knew that's what you were thinking.
It was not actually. I was saying we could have a really good movie poster, a Pixar movie poster of a little kid, and then it says hoop. But then you were like, no, he can't mean that. He's got to mean something terrible.
We should do that with Midjourney for this podcast thumbnail. We should have like a Pixar movie poster.
Yeah.
Let's totally do that.
Yeah, and it's gonna be you in a jean jacket, and it's gonna say "totally not dirty" right on it.
Yeah, but
You're gonna have icicles going down your nose 'cause you're cold.
I think that was a pretty good way to tie that all in. Don't you guys think so?
I think you did a good job. I do.
Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
Yeah, no, I think you did a good job. There's a big part of storytelling is the character arc and the lessons that are in them.
Mm-hmm.
One that came to my mind, I don't really know why, but I think most people, you've seen The Sandlot, have you not? Okay.
Yes.
Everybody's afraid of the old man and the dog over the fence, right? And then you get over there and you've got what were those shoes called? He's got you know what I'm talking about? That's okay.
It's not
They'll come back
shoes
to
from Like Mike. That's a different thing.
No, it's something different. But
Is it
Benny the Jet? It was
like
Benny the Jet.
Converses
Yeah,
or
it was. It was Benny
Yeah.
the Jet, and he jumped over the fence and he ran over and he got the ball, and it was the Babe Ruth signed ball. He got the ball and he did get over, but then the dog ran through the fence, blah blah blah, and then he thought the dog got him and he was doomed, and then it started licking his face and it was super nice. And then it turned into this whole thing where they meet the guy, and the guy, I think he knew the old time Yankees, the DiMaggios and the Lou Gehrigs, and he got a better autographed ball, and one cool thing about that I think it's probably the main theme of that story was to not judge a book by its cover, because the entire movie was not centered, but a big part of it was, hey, that's a bad dog over there. Those are some bad dudes over there. Scary looking house, scary dog. The yard's dirty. It's like he's got that chain on his neck. It's and at the end of the day, they all became great friends, and kind of like our hula hoop friend, who maybe he got picked on because he couldn't use a hula hoop, but it turned into a nice character arc, and maybe later down the line, maybe he did learn how to use a hula hoop. We'll have to see in the next episode. No.
Yeah, that's a great story. That's one of those classic stories.
That was one of my favorite movies.
That make you feel nostalgic
whenever
you watch it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many of you guys know, but I played baseball for a while, and that's partly why I work for a baseball company. And so I think there's like a lot of cool ways that baseball has tapped into nostalgia. I think like, all the movies you watch, like Field of Dreams or The Sandlot, or what else, like other classic baseball movies. But there's always something, there's like something, or like
Rookie of the Year,
The Rookie. There's always something like
Angels in the Outfield.
Like, yeah, Angels in the Outfield. There's something like romantic about baseball. It's like the old ball game. It's like classic America. It's something that makes you feel
at
like
this point it's
comforted.
nostalgic.
Yeah. It's something that makes you feel nostalgic, comforted, and I think that one of the reasons why that movie worked well is that it kind of made you like let your guard down, because it's like, oh, like this is like a totally relatable story. It's like a kid who wants to prove himself by being good at baseball in a new town, and it's a game that everybody's played, or mostly everybody. But then like the deeper layer to it was that story about like borders, and about how like we might think that certain people are evil, or that certain people are unlike us, but then once we are able to like cross that board and say, hey, like this dog wasn't as evil as I thought it was, or this man who lives in that house is somebody that like I can relate to, and that knows a lot about baseball too. So I think it's like stories are a good way to like have that upper layer of something that is approachable, but then have a deeper layer too of a message that connects well with people.
And you know what? It's actually I don't think I intentionally did this, but we kind of did tie it back to the hula hoop in a way, and that was supposed to be like a challenge, but we did. Whereas like Smalls in The Sandlot, he sucked at baseball. Like he couldn't throw, he couldn't catch. You can remember the plastic glove he had; it fell apart. Couldn't hit, couldn't do anything, and he was getting it from the other guys because he couldn't really play baseball, and but he found an avenue. He found an avenue to get better, and then at the end of the movie, he's narrating, right? He's been narrating the whole time, but at the end of the movie, he's talking about where all these kids ended up later on in life because they became lifelong friends. And it's crazy what that little, like those little things, how they evolve into something so much bigger. That's just kind of what I wanted to touch on, that like those little things, sometimes they can evolve into something much greater. So yeah.
In that it was like a simple story, but then it led to lifelong friendships.
Right. Yeah. And the problem was something very simple, right? And couldn't play baseball, couldn't use a hula hoop, and solving that problem in turn generated like outcomes that would change a person. Whereas like, oh, if I didn't try to pick up that hula hoop or pick up that baseball bat that day, where would I be? Who would be my friends? I'd have a whole different path in life just because I didn't do this one thing. You know what I mean? And that's why a lot of those people have, you ever see movies about, the obvious Back to the Future, it's like time travel type movies. You can't touch anything. It changes. You can't turn over that rock. It'll change everything.
And so like even if something's small, even if it's just like a small little mission or a small little problem that somebody's trying to solve, it can have major effects in the long run.
Right.
And yeah, I agree with that. And I think that, like part of what motivates me is that idea of just solving small problems, or getting to the next level of something, because I think that, like, I think it's a fine line in between making yourself be defined by like the problems that you solve, and being somebody who's just comfortable with who they are. And I think there's arguments for both sides that, like, oh, everything's about, like, just evolving. And I think, like, in the entrepreneurial space, that's a lot of what people talk about. But
Absolutely.
then in kind of the other side of things, it's like, just make sure that, like, you're good and, like, you do what you want to do. And but it's ultimately, like all things are, it's a balance. It's like, how can you do things that help to solve problems, and in those problems there's a story that becomes involved in it, because it's about how you overcame a particular obstacle. So how do you, like, you make that story a part of who you are, but then make time enough for the other people that are in your life, and to just, like, on holidays, just make sure that, like, you really care for the people that are around you. And like, I'm talking about extended family there, but like for your main family too, like, how are you just there for them, and, like, doing things that help them out. But I think it's like, if so say for example, like, when you're growing up, you're kind of in your family's home, but then when you go off to college, or when you start in the working world, then that's when you really start to become more of an adult, and develop your own particular story. So if you were to just stay home all the time, then you wouldn't have those experiences that would come in handy for helping the people that are around you at home. So like, once you go off to college, or you go in the working world, like, say you get a skill, like, maybe you become a carpenter, and then once you come back home, instead of being like, like your mom needs, like, something fixed, instead of being like, oh, I don't know how to do that, you can be like, oh, hey, like, I learned carpentry, and I can help you to do this. Or, like, and back in the Stone Ages or whatever, it's like you needed to hunt so that you had something to eat when you came home. And I think it's like, now we have, like, a real modernized version of that, obviously, but it's like each part is so essential to how we live.
Totally, yeah. And I think I don't know. What do you think? Are we kind of getting to the end of our battery life here? I don't know if you can see it over the light.
We got 19 minutes left.
Okay. All right. I remember when we got to 20 minutes last time, you put an end to it. Oh, okay. So I thought you were about to cut me off.
Why are you?
No. I was waiting for you to go.
We can wait. We can wait until we get like 10 minutes left.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. So I think you hit the nail on the head there. Jesus was a carpenter, was he not?
He was.
He right.
Was. Good guy.
He was. It's good. Pretty good dude. Yeah. Last time I checked. Yeah. No. I mean, always definitely. I really want you to build on that a little bit more, actually, because I was trying to follow your point, and you were going from telling a story to keeping close with your family. And are you talking about like as you leave the nest, sort of, to like be not don't like kind of like a don't forget where you came from sort of thing, or more like just expand on that a
right
little bit.
Yeah. I think what I mean by it is that whenever like how stories operate to me is that there's always a relative departure, right? There's a relative departure from comfort. And so if you see your family as a source of comfort, when you go off to college, you're departing from that source of comfort, and you're developing your own experiences.
I see. Okay.
And that's really where stories come from, are from experiences of trial and difficulty. And like when you go off to college, it's difficult because you're like in a whole new space, trying to learn all the social dynamics, trying to complete your assignments on time. But like whether it's that, or like whether you, like, to continue the analogy of a carpenter, like you go to carpentry school and then you come back to home eventually, obviously, and like you'll probably want to help out your parents or your family in some sort of way. But I think my point is that like those experiences that you have of getting to the next level of, like I think that's something like AI is trying to
Right,
do.
right.
AI is trying to get to the next level of humanity. What does it look like? What is, like, in the same way that the internet did for us?
Yeah.
Like, how does it like project us into that next idea of like what it means to be human, and how it means to be a more evolved species?
Right.
And so like, some people are like, oh no, like we need to keep things how they are, and like, obviously there's a point to that, but I think, as long as we keep something like AI as a tool and something that doesn't become our master, like in
Yeah.
in sci-fi
Yeah.
movies, it's something that helps us to channel a new experience of humanity. And then like it's the modern day hunting
Sure.
for a bison to like have for food at home, and it's like you need to conquer that which is difficult so that you can help provide for your family.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I'm glad you tied that together, because I was a little confused.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you tied that together. Yeah, that it's like the changing of the plot, the next chapter, going somewhere foreign that you don't recognize, that you don't know, and seeing how you grow there, because you don't know till you do it. And
Right.
it doesn't always have to be far away. Just a change in setting alone, even changing, if you could live on one side of the street, going to the other side of the street, and it might be a different experience for you. It could be something as simple as a sloped driveway, and you're falling down on a slippery day, and now you have to kind of change how you go about things, and just little things build you when you don't even know it. And how you react to those things, how you move forward, tells a lot about a person. And it also, don't let yourself get down if it doesn't go well the first time. Maybe you fall down the first time, maybe you fall down the second time, but over time you're going to learn how to react, and it's going to build you. And then later down the line, you can use that to build somebody else up. And I think that's really a lot about what being a good person's all about, is going through the trials and tribulations of whatever you have to face, learning from them, and then building other people up around you. And so I think you make a great point. Going to school, maybe it's out of state, maybe it's even out of town, or you could be abroad. You could be anywhere, as long as it's not home. It fits the analogy, and you learn that new environment, and then you take what you learned home, and maybe you help build people up around you, even if it's as simple as maybe you cook dinner one day because you learned a new recipe, and you want everybody to experience what you learned, and take something positive from it. Like I said, it could be as simple as learning how to make a different type of pasta recipe, but you learned it. Maybe you made a bunch of mistakes. Maybe you didn't make it with the right sauce. You put too much pepper in, and you didn't like it. You try again. One day you figure it out. You're like, everybody needs to try this pasta. Everybody needs to try it. Maybe you're a carpenter. Maybe the carpentry just isn't up to snuff, and maybe you have a couple of bad reviews, but you don't quit, and you keep going, and you learn, and then next thing you know, you're the best carpenter in town. Maybe you're rivaling the carpentry of what Jesus did. We don't know. His carpentry might still stand. Who knows? He might have did some real good carpentry. But anyway, I'm getting besides the point. The stories that you build over time build you, and use them to build up the people around you. Use them to spread positivity, and that's really what it's all about.
Love that.
Put a good bow on it.
I think that's a good ending.
I think it's a great ending. Scene.
And cut. All right, sounds good. All right. Yeah. Any last words or?
Well, I think that was my last words, but yeah,
All right.
just again, learn, and when you learn, build up those around you.
Cool. Totally agree. I think it's super important to have the balance of learning on your own and trying to succeed at whatever it is that your dream is and your passion is, but using that as a tool to connect with people in a better way, whether that's your family, friends, or just people that are beyond that Sandlot fence.
And that's your story that you tell to everyone else, and your story brings those people up, and that's what we try to do. That's what people, they come out of the movie theater and they want to have a positive feeling, or at least in most genres. You want
Right,
to come out with a
right.
positive feeling. That's what
Right.
we try to do. That's what we try to do in our content, and that's what we hope we do here. So
Sweet.
yeah. No.
All right, we're calling it.
All right.
Bam. See ya.
See ya.